Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a really fascinating historical and theological detective story about the famous 99 Names of Allah. And look, this isn't just about reciting a list. It's actually a profound journey into how ancient texts were preserved, how human nature interacts with divine mystery, and how a simple number can hold a truly transformative secret. So, if you visit a home, a mosque, or an art gallery pretty much anywhere in the Islamic world, you are almost definitely going to see beautiful, ornate posters displaying these 99 names. It's just a staple of cultural and spiritual life, right? But let's kick things off with a totally surprising question that kind of challenges what we see every single day. Did the Prophet Muhammad actually list these exact 99 names himself? Well, the answer is way more intriguing than just a simple yes or no. The entire tradition traces back to a single, very famous saying recorded by a companion named Abu Huraira. The quote goes like this: "Allah has 99 names, whoever comprehends them enters paradise." Now, this foundational statement clearly sets a specific number, 99, and it attaches a massive spiritual reward to learning them. But it completely leaves out one absolutely crucial detail. And here is the incredible twist. The most highly authenticated historical collections of these sayings, the ones compiled by incredibly meticulous early scholars like Bukhari and Muslim, they contain this magnificent promise, but they completely omit the actual list of names. There are 0 names attached to the most verified versions of this quote. None. So you might be wondering, where on earth did all those posters come from? Section 1. How did hadiths multiply? To solve the mystery of where the names on those posters came from, we first got to take a quick look at the mechanics of ancient history and how sayings were actually tracked. Classical scholars didn't just take people's word for it. They tracked these sayings using a super strict system called the isnad. This is essentially the chain of human narrators who pass down a historical saying from generation to generation. By tracing these chains, modern researchers can solve mathematical mysteries, like why we somehow seem to have hundreds of thousands of records from a single person's lifetime. It's all about geometric spread. Imagine a single authentic saying from one original companion, let's say Ibn Abbas. He might be heard by 4 direct students. Then those 4 students go out and teach it to 10 people each, right? That creates 40 secondary listeners. So suddenly, a single sentence from one guy geometrically multiplies into 45 separate written historical records. Okay, so what happens when experts mathematically filter out all of that geometric duplication? Well, they estimate that the actual number of unique root sayings from the prophet is way smaller than the millions of recorded chains. It's actually closer to about 6,000. And that's amazing is that this number, 6,000, aligns beautifully, almost poetically really, with the approximate number of verses in the Quran itself. Section 2. Where did the lists come from? So, if the original root saying didn't have a list, how did we end up with one? The historical record actually splits into 2 main paths from that original source, Abu Huraira. The first path, transmitted by a narrator named Al-Arj, contains absolutely no list of names, and this version is universally accepted by the strictest early scholars. But then, the second path, transmitted via Ibn Sirin, suddenly features a full list of 99 names. Interestingly enough, this version with the list was initially rejected by the earliest strict scholars and only accepted by later compilers like Tirmidhi and Ibn Majah. To understand how that list sneaked into the second path, we need to talk about a technical term from the science of historical transmission. It's called mudraj or idraj. Basically, this refers to text or explanations that were added to the very end of a saying by later narrators. You can think of it essentially as their own personal study notes. Really helpful additions, for sure, but they were not spoken by the original historical source. The theological detectives of the past, heavyweight scholars like Ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn Hajar, applied some really rigorous analysis to this anomaly. They successfully tracked the famous list down to specific, much later narrators, most notably a scholar named Al-Walid ibn Muslim. It turns out Al-Walid had independently extracted his own beautiful compilation of names directly from the Quran, and he just appended his personal study notes to the end of the original tradition. Section 3. The true meaning of the number. Now, if the specific 99 names on the posters were just a later scholar's helpful study notes, what did the original saying actually mean when it specified the number 99? We have to look at the linguistic context here. In classical Arabic, the number 99 is frequently used as a metaphor, an idiom, to express abundance or a great many, rather than a strict mathematical limit. It's literally exactly like when we say, "I've told you a million times." The source material points to historical stories of a man who committed 99 murders, meaning he was just a prolific killer, or a phrase saying a certain remedy has 99 cures, meaning it treats a vast multitude of ailments. And when we put this into practice, the math completely proves the metaphor. Different scholars throughout history took the prompt and independently searched the Quran to count the names themselves, and guess what? They all arrived at totally different mathematical totals. Ibn Hazm counted exactly 84. Zakachi rigorously counted 94. And if you combine the famous lists of Tirmidhi and Ibn Majah and filter out the duplicates, you get 127. This proves without a doubt that the divine attributes aren't strictly limited to a mathematical 99. The great classical thinker Fakhr al-Din al-Razi realized this wasn't a mathematical contradiction at all. He noted that the number 99 was a conscious ambiguity, much like the middle prayer, designed to spur the believer into action. It was just a brilliant, deliberate, pedagogical tool. By giving a number but hiding the actual items, it created this irresistible gap in knowledge designed to spark intense curiosity. Section 4. Treasure Hunts in the Quran. So the absolutely crucial point here is understanding the why. Why not just hand people a convenient poster? Well, there's a profound psychological and spiritual reason behind hiding the exact list of names. It works perfectly like that famous old metaphor of the dying father. He tells his lazy sons that a vast treasure of gold is buried somewhere in their large, uncultivated garden. The motivated sons rush out and frantically dig up every single inch of soil looking for this gold. They don't find any literal gold coins, but because they so deeply and thoroughly tilled the soil, the garden yields an incredibly rich 80-fold harvest. The harvest itself was the true treasure. By not providing a handy, ready-made list, the Prophet initiated a spiritual treasure hunt. Believers were meant to eagerly dig through the texts of the Quran themselves, searching for the names on every single page. And just like the sons deeply tilling the garden, by the time a person has scoured the entire text looking for divine attributes, that profound exposure to the book has fundamentally transformed their very character. Section 5. Reading Names in the Universe. But this explainer takes a truly expansive turn here. The treasure hunt doesn't just stop at the physical pages of a book. The source material reveals that these names and attributes are actually meant to be read in the living, breathing world all around us. The goal of this tradition was never just rote memorization of a poster. It was designed as a slow, continuous dripping of knowledge, like water persistently dripping on solid marble until it carves a permanent groove. Studying these names is a continuous, active process that shapes the mind, allowing a person to start recognizing divine attributes actively manifesting everywhere they look. For instance, when you stand before nature and see a lion roar, you're no longer just looking at biological animal behavior. Through this learned lens, you are witnessing a physical reflection of Salal, divine majesty, awe, and sheer power, manifesting right there in the natural world. Similarly, when you walk through a garden and smell a blooming rose, you are directly experiencing a fragrant manifestation of Jamal, ultimate divine beauty and grace. It's no longer just a flower, right? It becomes a signpost pointing to a much higher aesthetic reality. And when you plant a single, tiny seed into the dark dirt, and the soil gives you back a massive, life-sustaining harvest, or even when a person surprisingly and graciously forgives you for a harsh mistake, you are seeing divine generosity, the attribute of Kareem, and ultimate forgiveness in living action. Ultimately, the real treasure of the 99 names isn't a static list hanging on a wall. It is an active, vibrant lens for seeing the breathtaking depth of the world. By withholding the list, we were given the entire universe to explore. So, I'll leave you with this thought. Knowing that these divine attributes are written into the very fabric of reality, which ones have you been walking past every day without noticing? And where will you spot them manifesting in your own life today?